It started with a voice, not from a witness, not from the police, but from a podcast, a voice asking a question no one had answered in over 4 decades. How does a teenage girl vanish into silence and stay there for 40 years? And how does that silence finally break? In the summer of 1982, Roxanne Sharp was 17 years old. She lived in a quiet town where nothing truly unexpected was supposed to happen. The kind of place where people knew your name, your parents, your routine. Roxanne was described as bright, observant, the type of person who noticed things others overlooked. She had plans, small, simple ones, but plans nonetheless. Graduation, maybe college, maybe something bigger. But those plans ended on a night that at first seemed completely ordinary. There was no storm, no warning, no sign that anything was about to go wrong. Until it did. Roxanne disappeared without a trace. No confirmed sightings, no clear suspects, just a timeline that didn't quite add up, and a community that quickly turned uneasy. Days turned into weeks. Search parties formed, then dissolved. Tips came in, but none led anywhere concrete. And eventually, her body was found. The details were disturbing. But more than that, they were incomplete, because what investigators didn't have was a story that made sense. The case moved fast at first. Police questioned neighbors, friends, anyone who might have crossed paths with Roxanne in her final hours. But 1982 wasn't built for solving mysteries like this. There was no digital footprint, no DNA databases, no surveillance to rewind and replay, just statements, memory, and instinct. And instinct can be wrong. Suspects emerged, then faded. Names were written down, then quietly set aside. Leads dried up, and slowly, almost without anyone noticing, the case went cold. Not because people stopped caring, but because they ran out of ways to keep looking. Years passed, then decades. Roxanne's name became something else. Not a person, but a case file. A folder on a shelf, a question without an answer. Until 2026, the podcast wasn't supposed to change anything. At least, not at first. It started like many others, a deep dive into forgotten cases, stories buried under time. But this one was different, because instead of retelling the story, they started asking new questions. What if something had been missed? What if the timeline was wrong? What if someone had stayed silent all these years? The first episode dropped quietly, then the second, then something unexpected happened. People started listening, and not just listening, remembering. A name mentioned in passing suddenly sounded familiar. A detail, once dismissed, didn't sit right anymore. Listeners began reaching out. Emails, messages, anonymous tips, small fragments, but fragments that started to connect. One listener recalled seeing Roxanne the night she disappeared, something they had never reported. Another recognized a pattern in the case that mirrored an entirely separate incident from the early 80s. And then came something bigger, a name, one that had appeared in the original investigation, but had never been pursued far enough. The podcast team didn't just collect stories. They organized them, mapped them, cross-referenced them against old reports. And suddenly, the gaps in the case weren't empty anymore. They were filled with overlooked connections. Law enforcement took notice, at first cautiously, but the volume of new information couldn't be ignored. And more importantly, the technology had changed. Evidence from 1982 was pulled back out, retested, re-examined. DNA, once unusable, now told a story it couldn't tell before. Old witness statements were revisited. People who had once been hesitant were now willing to talk, because time changes things. Guilt shifts, fear fades, and silence becomes harder to hold on to. Then came the breakthrough, not one piece of evidence, but several aligning at once. 4 individuals, connected, not just to Roxanne, but to each other. A network that had gone unnoticed, or perhaps unproven, for decades, until now. The arrests didn't happen all at once, but when they did, they sent shockwaves through a case that had once been forgotten. 4 suspects, 40 years later, finally facing questions that had waited a lifetime to be answered. For Roxanne, justice came late, but it came, and it didn't come from a single moment. It came from persistence, from technology, from people who refused to let the story stay buried, and from a podcast that asked the right questions. This case changed something, because it proved that time doesn't erase truth. It only hides it, and sometimes all it takes is one voice to bring it back. If you're drawn to the truth behind the headlines, you're in the right place. This is CSV Crime Story Vault. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new case. If this story moved you, disturbed you, or made you think, hit like and leave a comment below. And for exclusive updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more real crime stories, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Crime Story Vault 25. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and keep the vault open.